Daniel Cameron had the power to charge Breonna Taylor's murderers, and instead he chose not to. And in return, he gets to be the black darling of the Republican Party. Therefore, we argue that anyone can be racist. For educational videos on race, history, and current events, please subscribe to this channel and power to the people. Fist bump that notification bell for updates on when we post. Hi YouTube, welcome to the Anti-Racism Academy. If you're new here, I'm Brandy Blocker Anderson. I'm a triple Ivy League educated lawyer, former teacher, activist, and the mother of an adorable 3-year-old named William. In our last video, we talked about 5 of the most common myths about racism. Now let's jump into 5 facts. Number 5. Anyone can be racist. Now, before you say, Brandy, people of color can't be racist because racism equals prejudice plus power, and people of color lack the institutional power to enact their prejudice on groups of people. Please hear me out. I hear you, but this one is a fact. Racism is an ideology that anyone, regardless of race, can practice. The most widespread and commonly discussed form of racism is white supremacy over Black, Indigenous, and people of color around the world. However, anyone can perpetuate this form of racism. First of all, throughout the Black freedom struggle, from slavery to present, there have been Black people who have worked to keep other Black people from obtaining freedom. For example, Daniel Cameron, the Kentucky Attorney General and Trump supporter who presided over Breonna Taylor's case, is an example of a Black person who used their power to uphold systemic racism. Second, people of color around the world discriminate against people of the same race for having darker skin complexions. And third, people of color of different races have demonstrated anti-Black racism.
And I don't know you. Do you know a lot of white men are doing racist things in this world, sir?
No.
You don't know that? You're not aware of that?
I'm a racist.
You are a racist.
I'm a racist.
Some critical race scholars may disagree on the terminology used to describe when people of color discriminate against or dislike white people or other people of color, choosing to call these instances prejudice instead of racism. They argue that 1, racism requires power, and 2, racism was an invention of white people, and therefore only white people can be racist because only they have institutional power to uphold white supremacy. Although I understand where they're coming from, here at the Anti-Racism Academy, we believe that 1, identifying and rooting out all forms of racial prejudice and discrimination, no matter the actor or institution, is critical to eradicating racism from our society, and 2, that every individual has the power to impact other individuals and institutions despite imbalances in power. Daniel Cameron had the power to charge Breonna Taylor's murderers, and instead he chose not to. And in return, he gets to be the black darling of the Republican Party. Therefore, we argue that anyone can be racist. Number 4, racism is individual and institutional. Racism plays out on both an individual level, like calling someone a racial slur, and on an institutional level, like how police departments, hospitals, schools, and other institutions generally leave people of color worse off than they do white people. In June of 2020, Merriam-Webster Dictionary announced its decision to update the definition of racism to include institutional racism, in response to Drake University alum Kennedy Mitchum's letters to the dictionary's editors. Mitchum explained in a New York Times article that she got into a debate with someone on social media who denied being racist by copying and pasting only the first section of the definition, which defines racism as a belief. Number 3. Racism is based on racial hierarchy. Going back to our working definition of racism from our last video, racism is a political, economic, and cultural belief system which states that white people are better than people of color and are therefore more deserving of societal benefits. In the 1700s, Swedish scientist Carl Linnaeus listed the 4 races of human beings according to stereotypes about their physical and personality traits. According to him, white people were at the top of the racial caste system or social ranking because they had the best character traits. In 1776, German scientist Johann Friedrich Blumenbach built on Linnaeus' racial categories by adding a 5th race and ranking the races as follows. The Caucasian variety, aka white people, who he named after the Caucasus mountain range, which sits between Europe and Asia. The Mongolian variety, aka Eastern Asian people, including Chinese and Japanese people, the Ethiopian variety, aka Black African people, the American variety, aka Native Americans, and the Malay variety, aka Southeast Pacific Islanders and the Aboriginal or Native people of Australia. Linnaeus and Blumenbach's hierarchy provided the blueprint for the US government, which still lumps people into these groups. According to the US Census, there are 5 races: white, Black or African American, Asian, American Indian or Alaska Native or Indigenous Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, and multiracial, also called biracial or mixed. Despite progress towards racial equality, this racial hierarchy is baked into all of our laws, budget decisions, and voting choices. Comment down below with a fist or a thumbs up if you feel me on any of these facts we covered so far. Number 2, racism is based on class hierarchy. During slavery, the majority of Southern white farmers were too poor to own slaves. Slavery meant that wealthy white people had access to free workers, so they weren't willing to hire poor white farmers or pay them well. However, wealthy whites who were pro-slavery convinced tens of thousands of poor white Confederate soldiers to fight to uphold slavery during the Civil War. Today, poor and working class whites make up a large part of President Donald Trump's voter base. And despite Donald Trump being a wealthy person who supports laws that would force these poor whites to pay more in taxes than wealthy whites and would take away poor whites' access to affordable health care. Number 1, racism was invented. It may seem obvious based on the last 4 facts, but racism was invented rather than being innate or a belief that someone's born with. Human beings have noticed physical and cultural differences between groups ever since these differences started appearing among our species. However, the idea that white people are superior over other global populations is a unique belief system that, as this video illustrates, has been developed and purposefully maintained and passed down over the past several hundreds of years to populations around the world. The good thing about racism being invented instead of being a natural occurrence is that we can learn how racism has been infused into our politics, economic policies, and our overall American culture. If you'd like to learn more facts about racism or these topics generally, please text 267-310-1085 or follow the link in the description below to sign up for the Anti-Racism Academy email list. If you like this video or found it at all helpful, please like and subscribe to this channel for more related content.